I'm Josh Ryan, licensed professional counselor, and this is your Daily Rep, a short practice to build emotional control under pressure. Words can repair a moment, but only consistency restores credibility. That's the difference most people miss. You can say the right thing, you can apologize well, you can take ownership, you can acknowledge impact, and all of that matters, as we've discussed. But if your behavior doesn't change over time, people will stop believing your words, because credibility is not built in a single moment. It's built in patterns, repeated patterns, and those patterns answer one question: can I rely on this person to show up differently next time? Because that's what people are watching. Not just what you say after the mistake, but what you do after the repair. That's where credibility lives. Most people think a good apology resets everything. They think, I owed it, so we're good. But the other person is thinking something different. They're thinking, is this going to happen again? And that question doesn't get answered by words. It gets answered by consistency. That's the shift. Repair opens the door. Consistency rebuilds the structure. Without consistency, repair starts to feel empty. It starts to feel repetitive. It starts to feel like a cycle. Mistake, apology, mistake, apology. Over time, that cycle creates frustration because nothing is actually changing. And that's when people stop engaging. That's when trust begins to drop. Because they're no longer looking at what you say. They're looking at what you do. Now let's be clear, consistency doesn't mean perfection. You're still going to have moments. You're still going to react sometimes. That's a part of the process. But consistency means something else. It means there's a visible effort, visible awareness, and visible adjustment. It means the pattern is shifting. Even if it's not perfect, that's what people trust. Progress, not perfection. So let's break this down. Credibility is built on three things: alignment, repetition, and predictability. Alignment means your words match your actions. If you say, I'm working on my tone, but your tone doesn't change, there's no alignment. And without alignment, there's no credibility. Repetition means you show the alignment over time, not once, not twice, but consistently enough that it becomes noticeable. Because one good moment can be luck. Repeated moments are a pattern, and patterns build trust. Predictability means people know what to expect from you. Not perfection, but direction. They can say, they're working on this. They're getting better at this. They handle things differently now. That predictability creates safety. And the safety builds trust. Now here's where most people struggle. They want immediate results. They want one conversation to fix everything. They want one apology to restore everything. But relationships simply don't work that way. Trust is built slowly, and it's built the same way, through repeated, consistent behavior. That's why patience matters. Because the change you're making internally takes time to become visibly external. But once it does, it's powerful. So let's make this a little more practical, right? Imagine someone who used to react quickly, sharp tone, defensive responses, fast escalation. But now they start working on it. They pause more. They lower their tone. They repair when they slip. At first, the other person may be skeptical. They may see the old pattern. They're waiting to see if it sticks. But over time, they notice something. The reactions are less frequent. The pauses happen earlier. The repairs continue to be cleaner. Now the pattern is changing. And because the pattern is changing, trust starts to rebuild, not because of one moment, but because of many. And that's consistency. Now compare that to someone who says all the right things, but doesn't change the behavior. They apologize, they acknowledge, they say they'll do better, but nothing shifts. That creates the opposite effect. It lowers credibility. Because now the words feel disconnected from the reality. And that's where frustration builds. Because people don't just listen to what you say, they measure it against what you do. And if those two things don't match, trust drops. That's why consistency matters so much. It's the proof. Proof that the work you're doing is real. Proof that change is occurring. And proof that your words mean something. Now let's connect this to identity. At first, consistency feels like effort. You have to think about it. You have to remind yourself. You have to catch it in real time. But over time, it becomes a part of how you operate. You don't have to force it in the same way. It becomes more automatic. That's when credibility really begins to strengthen. Because now the behavior is not occasional. It's just who you are. And that's the goal. Not temporary improvement, but sustainable change. Now here's the key mindset shift. Stop focusing on proving yourself in one moment. Start focusing on showing up consistently across many moments. Because credibility is not built in a single conversation. It's built over time, through repetition, alignment, through follow-through. That's what people trust. Not intensity. Consistency. Today's rep. Think about one area you've been working on. Maybe it's your tone, maybe it's defensiveness, maybe it's pausing before you respond. Ask yourself, am I being consistent or occasional? If it's occasional, that's your focus. Not doing it perfectly, but doing it more often. Because frequency creates patterns and patterns build credibility. Then choose one small adjustment you can repeat today. Just one. Because consistency is built one rep at a time. This wraps up Pillar 7, repairing after reactivity. And the final piece of repair is consistency. Because words open the door, but consistency is what rebuilds the trust. So if you're serious about building emotional discipline and stronger relationships, stay with us in the process. We're in the middle of the 30-day discipline run. 25 steps completed, 5 more to go. If you want to read the book, Pause and Respond, or work in the workbook, you can go to pauseandrespond.com. Make sure you follow and like the show so you don't miss the next rep. Because tomorrow we shift again. We move into identity, discipline, and long-term control. Because this isn't just about what you do, it's ultimately about who you become. Less reaction, more choice.